a dangerous object in your hand and you're failing to put it down.
I'm picking up trash.
Put it down. You're being detained.
Your hand is on your weapon, and you're gonna shoot me?
I couldn't help but notice you just sitting on the patio out there.
What's that?
I couldn't help but notice you sitting on the patio behind this building.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's signs for no trespassing, private property, that kind of thing. Yeah, I wasn't sure what you were doing, if you lived here or you worked here.
Yeah,
it looks like you're working, doing something, picking stuff up. Okay, gotcha. What's the actual address then?
Arapahoe?
Okay, what unit are you in?
I don't think I have to actually tell you that.
Well, I'm just checking to make sure that you have a right to be here, that's all.
I just told you I lived here.
Okay.
And I told you that I'm working as well.
Okay.
Shouldn't that be enough for you?
Well, I gotta verify it just so I know that you do in fact live here.
What do you need from me?
If you have an ID with your address on it, that'd be great. Well, we've had some stuff going on in this area. I'm just doing my job, just making sure you belong here, and if you do, then great, and I'll be on my way. Okay. Do you have anything with your address on it?
Yo, look, man. Here, why don't you follow
just
me
relax.
and I'll just leave the building, dude.
Just chill out, man.
Dude, this is ridiculous.
I'm just asking you if you have something with your address on it, then that would help.
No, I don't. How am I supposed to have something with my address on it?
Well, a lot of people have a driver's license.
They just carry something with their address on it?
Yeah, an ID.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. So, Mr. Atkinson, can I get your date of birth, please?
Why?
I just need to verify who you are, that you belong here, that you have a right to be here, okay?
Are you kidding me, man?
Can you have a seat, please?
No.
Mr. Atkinson.
No, I'm not.
290 Cook 12. Mr. Atkinson, right now you're obstructing a police officer, which is a jailable offense. I'm asking you one more time to sit down.
I'm not doing anything wrong. And you're not going to arrest me. You're not going to do anything. Because I live here. And I didn't do anything wrong.
Last chance, sir.
What?
Have a seat.
For what?
Sit down.
Arrest
right now I'm detaining you and investigating you for a trespass.
I live here.
Sit down. Sit down.
No.
$290. Have a seat, please.
You're gonna tase me outside of my residence? I hope that
Drop
thing's
that.
on.
Put that down.
I hope the camera's on, sir.
Put that down.
I really do. No, I'm working.
You need to listen to what I'm telling you to do right now.
I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything illegal.
290, we're on
I haven't done anything
the east
wrong.
side of
So I'm not gonna
2333
listen.
Folsom.
I don't
Subject's
know
failing
you.
to comply,
You're actually
not
on my
sitting down,
property,
and
and
he
I
has
feel
some
unsafe.
kind of a blunt object in his hand.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna follow until my cover gets here. Sit down. Now.
Why?
Now. Do it now.
Why? Why?
I'm detaining you to investigate.
What? For
Investigated
what?
trespass.
I live here.
You haven't confirmed that. Sit down.
I'm a student.
Sit down and I'll
I'm not
confirm it.
sitting anywhere.
Sit down now.
No.
Sit down.
I'm not sitting down.
Then you're probably gonna get tased in a second.
Why?
Because you have a weapon. Put that
I
down.
have a weapon.
Put it down and comply with my orders.
That's not what you're doing, officer.
Do it.
Better thing, because I got fucking, dude, I can get lawyers, and you have a
You-
camera on you.
It's filming right now.
You're an idiot.
Have a
Why
seat,
would you
please.
think that you could tase me? I'm freaking picking up trash on my property.
I need to confirm
Which
it.
is where I live.
There's a sign.
I'm not doing anything illegal, and you're not gonna tase me, officer. So
Sit
how do
down.
you think about that?
Sit down.
How do you feel about that, sir?
Sit
How
down
do you feel about
now.
that, sir? And get your freaking lieutenant here. All
They're
right?
on the way.
Yeah, good. Point the camera here.
You have a dangerous object in your hand and you're failing to put it down.
I'm picking up trash.
Put it down.
You're
You're
gonna
being
shoot me.
detained.
Your hand is on your weapon, and you're gonna shoot me? That's what you're gonna do, officer?
If you use that weapon against me,
A weapon?
then
I'm-
yes, that is a
I'm 20 feet
consideration.
from you. I'm minding my
All you have to
business.
do is comply right
Everything-
now.
Officer, you're gonna shoot me.
Just have a seat, man.
Shoot me? Are you kidding me?
All I want to do is figure this out with
Camera
you.
on this guy.
Sit down.
I don't have a weapon.
That's a weapon.
This is a bucket.
No, that's a weapon.
This
Right there.
is a clipper for picking up garbage, sir.
Put it down. I'm telling you, I'm threatened by
It's
it.
not a weapon. You're not threatened. I'm threatened. You have a gun that kills people. How am I supposed to kill someone with
Sit
this?
down, sir.
I don't have a weapon.
Drop it now.
What are you doing? No, what do you mean? Focus
Drop
on
it
you. There's
now.
fucking 6 of you.
Just drop it.
Really? This is my property.
We're not going anywhere. You need to drop it. I haven't confirmed that yet. I told you I'm investigating a trespass. You didn't give me your address.
2333. I live in room 304.
That's the first time. Have a seat.
Are threatening me on my property. I live here.
Hey, listen.
I'm a resident
The first thing you
of
need
this
to drop
property.
that
I'm
item.
picking up garbage from my door. I go to school here.
Drop it.
I
Just
go
drop
to
it and
school
sit.
Here. Don't fucking tell me what to do. You guys don't have a right to be doing this to me.
Sit down
I'm a
and drop
citizen
it.
of this country.
Do you know him?
Yeah, he works for us. He's our work steady.
Okay, can I talk to her?
He's out here picking up trash.
So are you work for Naropa?
Yeah, I'm the director of safety
Okay.
and facilities.
And so is this one of your properties right here?
Absolutely is.
Okay, so he is a contractor, he goes to Naropa or is part of you?
He's our student.
Student,
He's
and
a
he-
student work steady.
Okay,
Yeah,
so he has permission to be here, he has permission to be doing whatever he's doing here.
absolutely. He's picking up trash,
Okay,
keeping
awesome.
the place clean.
Okay, if you wouldn't mind just talking to him real quick, just to try to calm down. If that's all it is, we're gonna walk away in about 15 seconds.
Okay.
But just stay right here and talk to him. I don't want to come any further. I'll talk to that officer, okay?
Can I go and talk to him?
Just do me a favor, because he's kind of irritated right now, as understandably, and we don't want it to get worse, so just hang tight right there, okay?
Hey, you're angry and escalated, and it's likely you got profiled, okay? So we'll pick it up at a different time, not right here, right now.
So we've decided that we're going to end things at this point. Okay, do you want to hear why? Can you okay, thanks. So yes, thanks. I appreciate it. So my partners have confirmed that you live here, was initially the reason I contacted you, along with the object that you had. Just seeing you mulling it around, wasn't sure if you were dead. Do you want to go home right now, or do you want to stay here? So I have your ID here. I'm going to give it back to you. Okay? All right, now that I've confirmed that you live here, you have the right to be here.
About the freedom of these people by any means necessary. All right, what's up, folks? Welcome to another episode of the Uprising Podcast. My name is Big Kev. I'm your host with my co-host, side homie from another mother, Yard Man Drew. What's cracking, partner?
Yo, everything, Chris.
Everything, Chris. Hey, man. We've had some epic conversations throughout this week. So we decided to make this a meeting, I guess you can say, of those from the yard. And you guys know out there in video land how much I love the Jamaican brothers, and that's why I have Drew here. He is one of my closest friends, and I love this guy. So we're gonna get into it today, man. We got a special one for you. We try not to kind of I don't even know what the word is to say for this, Drew, but we try to come straight off the cuff, right?
Yes.
We don't want this to be scripted or nothing like that. We try to come straight off the cuff. So what you hear today, understand that these are everybody's own personal views. We don't try to tell people how to feel, how to think. We want to get as many dissenting points of view as we possibly can on any topic that we cover. So having said that, we're going to get into this today and just let it be. All right. So if you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section below. If you have anything that you would like to say, if interested in getting on one of these sessions with us, then by all means, please contact us and let us know. But before we do that, I would like to go ahead and jump off and give a shout out to all of our show sponsors, first being Black Rhino Logistics and Rare Breed Athletics. Thank you again for supporting this podcast and being there with us. If you would like to support us as well or advertise on this show, by all means, please contact us in the links below. This is a free spot for the time being. This is a free spot. So once things take off, it won't be free for long. So having said that, we're going to jump right into this. So the topic today, wait a minute, before I do that, y'all told me I was going you told me that I was at some point, I think it was, I don't know if it was Jason or Kevin that said I was going to get my yard man. Did you say?
Honorary yard man card.
Yeah, I was going to get my honorary yard man card at some point. So, so I have a quote that I would like to give to all the people out there, and both of you guys will understand this, and Drew will as well. But since I'm on that path of getting my yardman card, this is the quote that I want to give to you today. Dry tump a con peace no fire laugh when the can piece catch a fire.
When the blood clot. Hey, I know I said initially, I said no cussing, especially from my man Kevin, and then I'm the first one to drop bumbo cloud. I'm trying to plug what you just said about Google Translator.
Right. No, but anyway, I like to pay homage, bro. So let's go ahead and jump off into this, man. So Kevin, W, and Jason, thank you for joining us today. The topic that we want to cover, Drew, me and you talked about this before, but we want to see is racism and police brutality a real thing, or is this a counterfactual hypothetical that we're facing in the Black community?
And before we proceed a little bit, if you don't mind, Kevin, and if you don't mind me having each of my boys there just take a minute to officially introduce themselves.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
Share their backgrounds and their line of
expertise,
so to speak. Expertise.
Yeah.
And I'll start with Jay. I'll stay with J-Rob.
So what's good, family? I'm Jason. I am as they would say, a British Jamaican. Andrew's been my boy for almost, oh my gosh, over 30 years. We all went to school together, but my background is that I'm retired Navy chief. So I did about 23 years in the military.
Cool.
So I stepped, and since I've been out, and actually before I got out, I will say that probably about the last 5 or 6 years that I was in the service, a lot of things started to conflict me while serving in the military, and then seeing what was going on out here in our society. And once you get out and you see these things, you get a lot of things will mess with your spirit, and you see things. And so I'm here now. I think that the things that I'm going to bring, or the things that we're going to discuss today, I think that have a pretty good extensive knowledge, and I also have my thoughts. And I'm very big for Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, and for Black empowerment. You'll hear my views. Things people may not agree, but I think that overall, what I bring to the table is that I'm here for the Black collective, so that we can be equal. We're seeking for empowerment, because we're not there as a collective, and as a group, we have a long way to go, and we'll touch on that.
For sure. And that's why I have a co-host, Drew. I appreciate that, man. I completely, because I didn't want to hold these gentlemen up, so I slid past that. So I apologize about that.
No. I know that. I know normally that's the first thing you jump in. Hey, listen, I know you want that honorary Jamaican Yardman card, man, but we got you. Next up, man, is my boy Kevin W, man. Kevin, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the people, man?
Hey everyone, I'm Kevin. Known Andrew for well over 30 years. Jason also. I really don't know. I'm just a regular guy, regular family guy. My background is I was born in England. My parents are of Jamaican descent. But I've been living in America now since I was 6 years old. So I mean, I pretty much consider myself an American. I mean, I don't know what else to really call it. So I've seen the struggle growing up in this country, kind of as an outsider, kind of looking in, if you want to call it that. I've seen some of the issues, some of the problems, which I can kind of speak on as just being a regular home body, just a dad that works. You know, that's it. I'm just a regular dad that does IT work, and that's about it.
You know, I just want to throw in there, man. For me and these two guys right here, and it's been a minute since I've actually talked to them on like a personal level, and I don't know if I'm sure I have at some point, man. But you know, just based on what's going on in America now, and some of the reasons I believe that are behind the issues, you know, I want to tell both of these guys just straight up right now, thanks, man, because they had a huge impact on me. Being Jamaican born, lived in Canada, and when I moved over from Canada to the U.S., I went to high school with these guys, my last years of high school, and really and truly, they helped me a lot, you know, into becoming the man that I am today. I mean, I'm not afraid to say that. You know, I know I've spent some time with Kevin at his house, you know, with his parents, his dad, you know, just listening to his family and how they communicate and how we all interacted. Even Jason, I don't know if I ever really told you, so I looked up to you a lot, man. I really did, you know, back in the days. I mean, I love you guys. You guys are like brothers to me, man. So I just wanted to take the time to say thank you guys for that.
Thank you.
Well, man, Kevin, go ahead, bro.
Hey, that was there's no problem with that, man. Always give homage where homage is due, and respect to those that have helped form your life. I do that quite often, so no worries, bro. The issue that we're facing right now, I feel personally that there are two cultures of Black America. There are two sects. And there could even be more if you really want to. If you want to get down to the nitty gritty, to the grassroots, there could be more than just two. But I'm just going to talk about the two. And since Black Lives Matter is such a big thing that is somewhat crippling and helping, it's kind of like a two-edged sword. There is this cult that is being formed. There is the grassroots Black America that we've talked about that is engulfed inside of this capsule called Black Lives Matter. The folks that actually say Black lives do matter. We are being systematically oppressed in certain areas. We are having issues in this, that, and the third. And then those same people that also say if Black lives matter, why don't they ever do anything about the onslaught of youth that are being decimated in our inner cities? Why don't they ever show up for that? And then you have another sect of Black America that says that's not the issue right now. Urban violence, Drew, you know, I've changed my vernacular from Black on Black crime, that I now call it urban violence, because it is no different than white America having violence in their area, than Asian Americans having violence in their area, so on and so forth. So because we have this, we also have a sect of people that say police brutality, since that is the topic that we're talking about, that police brutality is not a real issue. It's something that is counterfactually, it's a counterfactual hypothetical. It is something that the media is conjuring up, and it's something that we are constantly buying into because we are a very emotional group of people. So that is what we want to talk about. Now, last week we spoke about Lil Wayne, and he's giving his own subjective point of view when it comes to this, because he had a personal experience with a white officer that saved his life when he shot himself when he was a youth, so on and so forth. So that is the question. Is this real? Is police brutality a real thing? Is racism a real thing, whether it be in Canada, whether it be in the United States? And are we actually just creating our own demise by being intoxicated with these unfactual things that appear to be real, that appear to be everyday. Is this not something that is the everyday life of every Black American or Black person on the planet? Do they face these? Anybody ready to jump in? This is what we're talking about. Let's get it.
All right. I would first let me say that thanks for introducing the subject matter because and there's a lot to unpack, and then and I'm glad we're going to touch on all of this. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and just put it out there that it is not a perception about police brutality in the Black community. Okay, it is not. Anyone that says that it's fictional, okay, is either a white supremacist, a low-key white supremacist, or a compromised Negro that agrees with white supremacy and white supremacists. Okay, as Black people and as Black men, this has nothing to do whether as long as you're in America. And let's keep this in America because this is where we live. This is where we live every day. As Black men in America, whether you're a foundational Black American, meaning that your family's background is from the slave plantations, okay, or a descendant of slaves. So whether you're a foundational Black American, whether you're an immigrant Black or whatever, okay, at some point, there is always going to be that nervous energy as a Black person if you ever get pulled over by the police.
This is
Why
true.
is that? And this has always been like this before there was any cell phone footage, and even before you had the Rodney. Just keep that in mind.
True that.
I'll bring up a situation. Kevin's gonna remember this very, 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 very well. It was me, Kevin, and his older brother Ricky. We're all driving in his car one night. Ricky's car was all souped up, had the rims and all of that. And we were literally driving this probably about 1 o'clock in the morning, and we literally did nothing. And we got pulled over. And I asked about 25,000 questions about where we're going, where we're coming from, what we're doing, blah, 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 blah. We were the most respectful, and literally there was no ticket given, and the officer claimed that we did not make a turn signal when we made a turn, that Ricky did not make a turn signal. Now, and I've been through many situations where I've been pulled over by police officers. No, I've never been harassed, I've never been beaten, but the fact of the matter is, we've always had that feeling that these interactions with police officers at some point could end up deadly. Okay, and we have to keep that in mind as Black people in America. And I will add to that I do know a bunch of dudes, Black men, that are in law enforcement, and actually I had a conversation with two of them a couple weeks ago that went through some training, and they even said it may not be stated. You know what I'm saying? They may not come out and be stated that you need to racially profile or racially target people. But what they do is that they assign police officers to certain areas and to certain neighborhoods and communities, okay? And if you're a cop and you go throughout your day and you really don't have any incidents, and say if you're in the hood and you come back to the precinct, they're like, so nothing happened today? Absolutely nothing? No arrests? Nothing? It's like that's the culture,
right?
So when it gets framed like that, and they also talked about how when they get on the street beat, okay, for some reason, Black skin makes officers, whether white or Black, putting it out there because it's not only white officers, it's just police in general. They become extra aggressive with Black men.
Okay, so let me ask you this: do you think that additional aggression could potentially come from the fact that that we are an emotional demographic? Now, understand. I get what you're saying, but I like to play devil's advocate.
Absolutely.
And this is because we have to look at this from both sides of the spectrum. I understand. Let me give you this story really quick. I was 17 years old. I was living in Tar Heel country of North Carolina. My father was a military officer. He was in communications. He was an officer. I thought he was a general my whole life. So I was raised by a man's man. So this particular evening this is a true story on my mother. I went to go get my best friend who spent almost every day at our house during the summer. I didn't even think his mom loved him because he was at my house constantly. He never left. I swear, I went to pick him up, and when I got him in my mother's van. She had a Mitsubishi van, whatever. It was baby blue, and the headlights were really bright. This road that he lived on was exceptionally dark. I went to go pick him up, and when we left his house to come back to my house, it was dark as all get out. I seen a car coming, but I had my bright headlights on. And the car flashed its headlights at me, and I turned my headlights down. When the car passed me, I turned it back on. And not seconds after I turned them on, I seen red and blue lights flashing. This car turned around. I was probably a good quarter mile down the road at this point. He pulled up on us so fast. So I knew to get over. I got over. And this cop comes up to my window, gun drawn. It's a 38. Now, this is back in 1990. Gun drawn. He gets up. He's, get out the car, boy. I get out of the vehicle. My best friend, his name was Jermaine, he was on the passenger side. He told him to get out the car. So he got out the car. He walked us to the back. We got to the back of the car, and he was like, why did you turn your bright lights on? You don't ride with your bright lights on, boy. That's all he kept saying. And I was afraid. I was like, sir, I didn't know that I didn't know you was, it was bothering you or you was a cop. I didn't want to hear the dare, blah, 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 blah. The whole story. So he was like, open this damn trunk. So I opened the trunk. He went through our bags. And this is my mom's van. She's been a daycare provider my entire life while I was in the military. And being in the Navy, Kevin, you probably remember maybe, there was Army wives or Navy wives that did this to make extra income. Anyway, she's got toys back there and our bags are back there. So this dude is he's rumbling through our bags. He was like, hey, boy, I know you got some drugs back here. What you slinging? I'm like, sir, we just high school students. He couldn't find nothing. He stopped looking through our bag. He said, hey, the next time you out here on my road, in my town, in my city, boy, you don't never put your bright lights on. He stuck that gun in my face, and he said, if I see you out here and you do that again, I'm going to blow your black ass face off. He told us to get back in the car and go home. That was a black cop that did that to me.
Okay.
So my question to you is simply this. Is it a white cop thing that makes us feel that we're endangered? Or is it the perception of police in general that we are very aggressive people, that they have to approach us in that fashion?
Well,
it's going to be police. Sorry, don't mean to cut you, Jason. I believe it's just police in general. Because
that's what I was gonna say.
Police, as the history of police as an organization in this country to begin with was never a good thing. Because it started off as them being overseers for them to go out and catch slaves. So it was never a good thing. So black people have never had a good relationship with police from the very beginning of when it even started, when policing even started over in this country. So it's never been a good thing. Whether white, black, Chinese, it could be whoever. Mm-hmm. It's never been a good thing. I mean, if you look at the video footage from George Floyd, right? Mm-hmm. There's an Asian cop that's standing right there. I mean, dude, you're a minority also in this country. You get it as much as we do, but maybe not as much because, again, they have an infrastructure there that kind of protects them from the wrath that we get from white people.
Right.
Or from white supremacists in this country. Let me not say white people because I don't want to clump an entire group of people into that.
Right.
But again, police as an organization have never been a good thing. From, like Jason said before, even from Rodney King, from before Rodney King. This is why black people as families have always had to have the talk with their kids.
Right.
When they get old enough to be able to go out, because we know what can happen to them because it's happened throughout history in this country. So if there was no reason for us to have this talk, even before all this video footage, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know what to say.
I would harken back to is we all consider we all grew up to 90s music, 80s, 90s music, and one of
Right.
the main things that I want to bring attention to is that the fact that one of the main things that we all know NWA. The one thing that NWA always talked about, okay, even in their songs "F the Police," they did bring up the fact that no black cop showing out for the white cop. You know what I'm saying? That was always in there. So it's the institution of police, like Kevin says, has always been traced back, especially in America, was traced back to the slave plantations, okay, and slave patrols. Okay, so it's always been an anti-black racist organization.
Right.
Okay, it
Right.
is the organization of the police has always been an anti-black racist organization, and they also contradict themselves. Okay, because they also show, because even though you do have officers that do provide that black officers or non-white officers that treat black people just the same. So that's why I'm saying the organization is just the same. It's an anti-black racist organization because it doesn't matter whether you're black, Asian. You've seen Hispanic cops out here in Florida brutalize black people, and then they'll run around and tell you that we have a black and brown coalition, and just as much brutalize black people. Like we said, you had Officer Yanez who shot Philando Castile, who is Hispanic. Okay, you have Peter Liang, who was Asian, who killed Akai Gurley in New York. Okay,
Right.
got off. So you have now all of that. So you've had all these different types of cops from different backgrounds that have killed black people and have gotten off. And isn't it interesting that the one black cop, okay, Officer Muhammad Nawar in Minneapolis, who shot that white lady, Justin Damon,
Mhm.
and they prosecuted him immediately and found him guilty immediately. There was no grand jury. It was just it was no fraternity of police was there to back him. Nobody was saying back the badge.
Right.
Nobody was saying blue lives matter. Nobody said anything. It was you shot this white woman, you're guilty. No, she ran up on the police car in the dead of night on the 911 call and startled them, and he fired just one shot.
One shot.
And he killed her.
Drew,
So,
Kevin, I don't want to cut you off, but Drew, I need to ask you this.
Yeah.
So, seeing what Kevin's talking about, and maybe
that's Jason.
or Jason, I'm sorry, Jason. Maybe there's some type of discrimination when it comes to the prosecutorial process of the officer, whether he be black, whether he be white. Okay. Seeing that, what he's saying, we have that example of that, and then we have what happened in Minneapolis just recently.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, those Officer Chauvin was arrested. He hasn't been prosecuted yet. He was arrested. He was taken to jail.
Yeah.
What is the outrage now? So, and my question is, if they are now starting to recognize, I guess because of public outrage, they're recognizing, they're responding a little faster. What is the outrage now? Why are we destroying things now? Why are we tearing up cities now? Why are we still continuously doing this when they have got the officer? They haven't prosecuted yet, but they have him.
Well, again, one of the things you talked about was we're emotional people, right? And something that I like to talk about is emotional intelligence. We struggle with that as a people. I think last week we talked about, we mentioned things about the psyche as Black people, which is coming from, our ancestors in slavery, what they experienced from the masters, taking that home to their children and their children. We talked about Dr. DeGroy and what she talked about, with that post-traumatic slave syndrome. I mean, all of these things play a role, right? Once we get triggered and we get rolling, it's like what's that saying? A rolling stone gathers no moss. It starts going downhill. It's going to go faster and faster, and that's kind of what's going on now. You know what I mean? Because when I look at some of the videos that I'm seeing, I don't agree with some of the things that they're doing. You know what I mean? I'm seeing, and again, I understand we're frustrated, right? I like to throw statistics out there. One of the things I think was between 2013 and 2019, the United States Police killed almost 8,000 people, according to data that was compiled by, I think it's the Mapping Police Advocacy Group, I think is what they're called, right? But predominantly, most of those people were Black. We're talking about 13% of the population, right?
Mm-hmm.
A small percent of the population that was predominantly killed by these police. So you understand, over time, these things are just piling on and piling on and piling on. It got to a point where people are just over it, right? Now, while all this protesting is going on, we all know sitting here, other black people were still being killed. You know, you got this young lady in Louisville. That's
Yeah.
just something wrong.
Breonna Taylor.
They
Yeah,
haven't
Breonna Taylor.
been arrested yet.
Nothing.
What was that, Jay?
Nothing. And one thing I get what you're saying, Kevin. That when you're asking the question, why are they still protesting, or why are things still burning, or why are people still out there in these streets? But isn't it interesting, especially in Minneapolis, that they were hemming and hawing, dragging their feet, and action only came when they started burning stuff down? Let's think about that. That's when action started to happen. You can even look to what happened in Atlanta with that cop who shot that brother that was in the police parking lot, because Atlanta there was an uprising in Atlanta the week before. You notice just how fast the prosecution was quick to charge it.
Right.
There was no more BS about a grand jury. It was no more dragging it. What's happened in Louisville with the Breonna Taylor situation is that you have a justice system that is dragging their feet. They're trying to prolong it, hoping that people forget about it. They're hoping that people forget about it. And one of the cops has a record of disciplinary issues. Okay, nothing is moving, and I'm going to let you know right now, they have a black attorney general in the state of Kentucky who is over here posting pictures of himself getting engaged to his little white woman, and he's dragging his feet and he's smiling and has not a care in the world about what's going on with Breonna Taylor. Now, they were quick to arrest her boyfriend, okay, who basically had no clue what was going on and shot one shot to defend this woman, okay? And I want you to understand, and I want your audience to understand, because this was not relayed out there, just how serious it was when I say that they shot Breonna Taylor. They shot her 8 times, and not only did they shoot her 8 times, this young woman was naked. She posed no threat. She was naked. They shot a naked woman 8 times.
Okay. Now, again, I'm gonna play devil's advocate, Kevin. I'm gonna call you K-Dub since your last name is W. Kevin, I'm probably gonna piss you off right now, but I'm gonna ask you this: they had a no-knock warrant, so we need to understand what a no-knock warrant is. Okay. Now, I'm gonna get in this, and I'm gonna play this devil's advocate spot. In order for the police to get a no-knock warrant, that is probably one of the hardest and most dangerous warrants to receive as a police officer, as any police department could ever get, is a no-knock warrant. They received a no-knock warrant, and in order to get that, you have to have overwhelmingly compelling evidence that the residence in which you're going to serve this no-knock warrant means it is so dangerous that you cannot just knock on the door and say, hey, we're Louisville Police Department, we coming to take you to jail because you've been doing some illegal drug, whatever, whoop-de-whoop. They had a no-knock warrant signed by a judge because the evidence that they had was overwhelming. So, Kevin, I'm gonna ask you this. Is it irrelevant that they had this information, that they were granted this no-knock warrant because they were delving in, they were shoveling heavyweight when it comes to drugs. They were violating the law in an exceptional way, and they received this no-knock warrant. And when they went there, the boyfriend obviously shot. These things happen. Do we look past that? Is that irrelevant?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? So what's funny is I was reading an article actually Friday before I left work about Breonna Taylor and the police officer that actually got shot because he was the first one through the door. He actually got shot in the leg, if I'm correct, and they had to drag him out, and he got help or whatever. But according to what he was saying, they got that no-knock warrant, but they still ended up knocking on the door. So according to the actual police that was there, they knocked on the door several times before they even entered. That's what woke them up in the first place, to even have them out in the hallway where the boyfriend had the gun pointed at the doors for when the police actually bust through the door now, for one of them to actually get shot.
Right.
And what's crazy is that during the article, I'm reading the article, and they talked to the boyfriend after the fact. And apparently the boyfriend is saying that when after they shot his girlfriend dead next to him, they checked him for wounds. And they said, did you get hit? And he said, no. And he was like, too bad. Like, but, and the worst part about it is if I'm correct, and maybe Jason can probably correct me on this one, is they had the no not warrant, but it was the wrong address, and they'd already arrested the guy that they had the no not warrant for, if I'm correct.
Yes. So the guy was on this. So first of all, it was the wrong place.
Okay.
You see now, because what I'm going to tell you, Kevin, is that just everything that you described for the requirements to get a no knock warrant. Okay. Yes. Just like you said, have the judge sign it off. It has to be solid. It has to be airtight, watertight. Yeah. Okay. So I get what you're saying. Mm-hmm. I get what you're saying. So based off of what they said, their information should have been solid. It wasn't.
And it wasn't.
It wasn't. That means somewhere along the line, okay, somebody lied, or okay, and this is what we're not going to talk about. Somebody lied to get the no-knock warrant. Okay. Then there's some lying. There's somebody's not telling the truth about the procedures in which they went to proceed, because the police claim that they knocked. This is what brings suspicions, because they said that they claimed that they knocked. Okay, when it was more like they banged the door in. Okay, and Breonna Taylor's boyfriend reacted. Okay, and then they proceeded to just light the apartment up, and then they didn't shoot him. So, and for that to happen, there's a lot of covering up going on. Okay, it's the same situation that happened in Ahmaud Arbery down there in Georgia. Right. There's a lot of covering up going on when you sit there and you realize that no, there's some nefarious stuff going on, and a black person is dead, and everybody's trying to cover for everybody instead of sitting there and saying, look, and this is the frustration. Okay, this is the frustrations of what we're seeing, and this is why you're having the uprising. This is why you're having people that are in the streets, and it's spreading across the country, because after, and I have my thoughts on why the uprising is spreading across the country and why we have a whole lot of white people involved in it too. Yeah, let's hit on that. Now that you brought that up, let's hit on that, because as a brother, that listen, I don't know if I should, but it's almost like, Drew, I get this feeling. When I see Black Lives Matter, bro, I get it. I get the gist of it. I get the subliminal message, so to speak. I get that. I understand. But what really pisses me off is when I see white people jumping into this fight when for centuries you could have jumped in the fight before all of this happened, but you've done nothing. And this is what drives me nuts. This is what really bothers me, is because it's almost like it's really hard for me to explain this. The feelings that we have, the emotions that we have, the problems that are happening on the inner city, the problems that are happening with what could be considered maybe not real police brutality, where others can say, yes, it really is police brutality, regardless of what that is. People have these feelings, and they're getting hijacked, and nothing's happening about that. So why am I upset that there are white people involved in this? And it bothers me. I mean, I don't know why it does, but it really pisses me off.
All right, I'm gonna jump back again. I love statistics, right? Because when you have the numbers, I don't care if you're black, white, whoever you are, you can go out there and look at the numbers yourself, and you cannot disprove those numbers, especially if the way they're collected and everything, right? We all know, including these white people, that the number of police killings in the U.S. disproportionately affects our community, right? We make up 13%, as we all here know, right? We're 2.5 times more likely to be killed by the police, right? 50 states, the 3 largest states, California, Texas, and Florida, have the highest number of killings of black people by the police officers. There are white people there. They know that's going on. They never came out and protested or said anything until we started to, right? Okay, let's go to, I think, Utah. Utah, we make up about 1% of the African-American population, the black population there, right? And we're 10% of police killings over the past 7 years has disproportionately affected us. Again, like, There's a lot of white people there. We make up 1%. They didn't go out and protest and do anything,
All
right?
right.
So I've raised the argument that Black Lives Matter is being used. They're a tool, right? They're a tool. And a lot of the Black people that are out there, I know why they're out there. Okay, they're out there for the real reason.
Yeah.
But these white people, I feel like some of them. I mean, there was a video on Instagram, and it was these two white girls covered up, spray painting Black Lives Matter, and a black girl was recording it and saying, "Hey, don't do that. Don't do that because they're gonna come and blame us." And the white girls were like, "But we're here for you." She's like, "Yeah, we didn't ask you to come out here for us." You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, I'm gonna tell you all right now.
Like them burning down stuff.
Right. If these people had gone out there with the before Mr. Floyd got killed, if these people had gone out there and said, "Hey, we're white people and we don't like what's happening to black people. We're gonna start protesting for black people." Imagine how much bigger that would have been.
Right.
Instead of us going out there, then they're coming out joining us. Imagine if they had taken to the streets and say, "Hey man, we don't like what's going on."
Kevin.
Here's the thing.
There you go.
I can kind of get what you're saying, but here's where I'm gonna
Do it, man.
go left, right? So again, what's happening? It's happening because of, you know, white supremacists and white supremacy and white privilege and we can go on and on and on and on and on, right? But at the end of the day, it's our problem. We're the ones that need to start this. We're the ones that need to get it going. We're the ones that need to get it together and come together as a people and fight what's going on with us. And that's the issue. You know, we can't always look to a white savior to come and save us. Jesus saying this ain't white Jesus sitting on your mom's wall.
Say it again, Kevin. Say it again, Kevin. Say it again.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
We got to do this shit for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. But here's the thing now. Black people, we're really good at doing that anyway.
Yeah.
So guess what? This stuff is happening. And these kids that are out there, because it's not even really us, like adults, like guys that are in our age group right now that are out there like that. It's more kids that are out there because they're tired of this shit. I'm sorry. I got to curse. I'm sorry for that. I don't know the demographics of your podcast, but, you know, they're sick and tired of it. They're not going to take it no more. And they've seen what the previous generation did as far as the civil rights movement was concerned, as far as them peacefully protesting and singing hymns and all of that shit. And look where the hell it got them. It got them fire hoses to their face and dog sticks on them. Like, these kids nowadays, they're not playing that shit. They're like, yo, you sick a dog on me, I'm going to kick that dog in the face, and I'm going to throw a brick in his face, and I'm going to throw a brick in your face, and then I'm going to burn your shit down on top of it. And then I'm going to make sure you get fired. Like, these kids are not playing that shit these days. This is why they're so angry, because they've seen what happened to the previous generation, and they're like, I'm not with that shit.
Kevin, let me ask you something. On that topic, okay? 1930, 1940, 1950, 1960, 68, Martin Luther King gets assassinated. The rise of Black Panthers. These are the kids that were coming up from the 20s, 30s, whatever. Okay, here comes the Black Panther Party. The same children back then that saw what was going on with their parents having to get food out of the back of a restaurant, you know, the whole Jim Crow. Now here we are, same place, different time, new kids. Do we defund the police? And let me add to that before you answer. Because the kids are upset. I get it. I understand. Our whole conscious thing here with our podcast is the liberation of Black youth. Because this is how this is going. This is the only way that we can see this, to fix this. So they're upset, and the message is now defund the police. If we do that, who benefits from that? Who doesn't benefit from that? And how does that affect the movement? How does that affect Black America? What happens to that?
Can answer that right
Okay, so that whole defund the police movement that's going on right now, what these kids are asking about with defund the police, and I keep seeing and reading and seeing all the posts that these kids are doing about the defund the police, and they have the right idea, because they're saying we're spending so much money, we're giving billions of dollars to these police departments. They have armored vehicles. Dude, why the fuck do the American police need armored vehicles in this country? This is supposed to be a free country. This is not Iraq. Why do they need tanks rolling through your neighborhood? Why do we need APCs? Like, come on. I can understand, all right, they had LA, and the big thing in LA, I remember back in the day, was the SWAT team in LA, right?
Yeah.
Everybody used to talk about the SWAT team in LA because SWAT team was so big, right? Because they were getting all this money and they were just buying up all of this military gear. And that's what they were. They were just basically a militarized police. I mean, what was so special about that? And now look at it now. We fast forward now all these years later, and you have all these different police departments now, and they have all of this gear. Why are they all geared up? You're taking away all the money from the arts, from schools, from music in schools, from all of these different things that you're taking away from that could benefit kids in the community. You're taking it away to fund the police department that doesn't need all of these different armored vehicles and assault rifles and what? Seriously, why? So they're like, yo, take that money from them, give it back to the community. Let us start to open up whatever we need to help with these kids, to keep them busy. If that's the case, then if they're not busy enough and that's why they're hanging out in the streets and that's why they're doing dirt, then guess what? Let's find some shit to keep these kids busy so that way they're not doing that kind of stuff. Because most of these kids are super smart. You sit down and you talk to some of these kids, and it makes me want to cry sometimes, dude. Like, I talk to my nieces and my nephews, and when I sit down and really talk to them and to see how far they are at their age, and to know the difference of when I was their age, the stuff that they know now is beyond me. And to think that they are wasted away because they don't have funding in their neighborhood to help them with, say, learning how to program a computer, or learning how to learning the justice system, or learning how to write a book or something. You know, like, all of this stuff is gone. We don't have this stuff no more.
And you attribute all of that to the fund of the police budget.
Again, I don't attribute it to solely just the police alone,
right?
But that is part of the issue, and that is part of the problem right now, and that's why what's happening right now and what's been brought to light with this entire thing that's been going on with this entire movement is with police brutality. And guess what? They're going to stick with what they're talking about, which is police brutality, taking some of this money away from the police. We need to start putting our foot on the police's neck, because guess what? You're supposed to be working for us, not the other way around. We shouldn't be paying you tons of money to come into our neighborhood just to come shoot us dead. That is not it. That is not the boom.
Right. Jason, speak back on top of what Kevin's saying. Who's going to hurt here? Because if we take the funding away from the police department, or we defund, and what other people are saying they want, the meaning of defunding this police is to dismantle this police department and have private security. How does that look in Black America? Because you're going to have elements of people that are going to tell you that the problem when it comes to this is not necessarily the police, but you have a criminal element in the Black community that still, you can defund the police all day. If we do not address the criminal element, shout out Ricky Smiley, who wants to now start talking about this criminal element because his daughter got shot in the leg.
He wants to address it. So, all right, what is the root of that criminal element? I'm going to ask that question. If anybody knows what the root of that criminal element is, what is the primary of all criminal elements?
Poverty.
Thank you. It's poverty.
100%
okay,
poverty.
So and therein lies the problem. Part of the discussion that is always left out is that everybody wants to talk about solutions, but nobody ever wants to talk about the economics. Because the base of all solutions within the Black community is economics. Okay.
Yep.
Now, this is a two-pronged attack because yes, you need to defund the police. Okay. You need to defund the police, and what do you need to do with those funds? Okay. If you want to defund the police, then what are you going to do with that money? To provide economic support to those communities. Now, the one thing that the United States has never done, okay, is financially and economically, okay, correct the issues of slavery. This is why reparations is the number one. And to be honest with you, you can talk about defund the police all you want. The number one issue for all Black Americans in this country, it should be the only talking point right now, is reparations. Because it is the base. It is the base to which you can build your community, okay? And once you build your community, you can build your own businesses, you can build your own schools, you can employ your own people.
Hold on. Now, 1921, 1920, 1921. We had Black Wall Street. They didn't have reparations. So how do you apply?
Okay, I'm going to tell you.
How do you apply reparations now when you have? Hold on 1 second. When you had people,
how did they?
That's what I'm.
Is how.
Yeah,
how
that's
did they do it.
Yeah, that's the question. But
what led to it?
Hold on.
I'm asking you what led to it. What led
to them doing that?
Yes, absolutely. What led to it? There's one thing that led to that. And
Unity?
there's a reason why they did that.
What do you have?
What was it?
What was it?
They created Black Wall Street when? What period of time? What time in American history was that?
Oh, that was during
Go ahead, say it.
Great Depression. That was around that time. Jim Crow, sure, absolutely. Yeah. All of that.
Jim Crow segregation.
Yes.
Okay. So now we're going to delve into a topic that is going to hurt a lot of feelings. Okay.
Let's do it.
All right.
Well, hold on before you do it. I still got to ask this question. It's applicable to what you're saying.
Absolutely.
If you're saying reparations,
huh?
In doing so, how is that going to amend what happened when this happened before and the people in which Black America created their own institution of wealth, their own semi-culture, so to speak. They created their own community without the assistance of reparations, without that 40 acres and a mule. They were more savvy back then, I feel, than they are now. Black Americans don't really have, not all, let me correct it, not all, but some do not have that financial wherewithal to understand how to do with money. All right, so if we're not unified in the state of mind right now with finances, what is reparations? How is that going to fix this?
All right.
Here's the thing. I know Jason wants to touch on this real quick.
I want both of y'all to hit on it.
he's waiting for it. He's just waiting because I know that the whole reason why Black Wall Street worked is because of Jim Crow. There was nowhere else for Black people to spend their money. So guess what? They got to spend it with their own people.
With their own people.
So they're going to spend it with.
Right.
So now you have this free, open society that's going on right now, right? So, again, what's happening right now with the youth, and I've seen it going on, and I know Jason will touch on this too because he's seen it also. There's been a big push for buy Black.
Yes.
And I've seen a lot of that going on now. Buy Black. And there's been a lot of like little lists that are going around and local lists that I've seen going around for Black owned businesses for Black people to go to spend their money with, because they're like, yeah, no, we don't need to spend our money with these white corporations that are obviously not going to put that money back into our community. So guess what? We need to spend this money on our own people that are in our community, that are going to use the money in our community and make our community better. So,
okay. Jason?
So what I was going to touch on is that, yes, Jim Crow segregation was the one that forced Black people to have to basically to rely on each other. Okay. Sure. So that's why you had your Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You also had a couple in North Carolina. I went into, Durham and out there in Wilmington and all those other areas.
Sure.
And all of them were prosperous neighborhoods. All of them were. Okay. They became very prosperous. And what occurred after that is that somebody lied, made accusations,
Right.
white mobs come up in there, kill a bunch of black people and burn it down. Okay. The biggest issue that Black Wall Street that he didn't do was have a gun store in there to make sure that they were able to protect themselves.
True that.
But yeah, so when we were forced into a situation, okay, when we've always been a resourceful people, okay, we all know that.
Yes.
Black people have always been a resourceful people. We can make, as they say, $1 out of 15 cents. Okay, we always know how to rub some pennies together and get it cracking. We've always been able to do that. That is our culture. It does not mean that these foundational Black Americans are not owed what is due to them. Okay,
Right.
reparations is still owed because white wealth this country was built off of that labor, and then the people that are pulling the strings and making major decisions are one of the main groups that benefited from slavery. Hello, Chase Bank. Okay, hello, Wells Fargo.
True.
Hello, all your other corporations. This is of the labor of Black people. So, you can't tell Black people to sit here once again to create an economy with nothing.
Right.
Okay, it's not right, because, and this is the part where I have to bring in, and I have to say it, this is the fundamental difference between foundational Black Americans and immigrant Blacks. Okay,
Right.
This is the fundamental difference, and immigrants, period, because most immigrants do not come here with nothing unless you're Hispanic. Most Black immigrants do not come here with nothing. They either get together as groups, pool their resources together. Okay, they'll either live all up in one house, or they'll all get together and try to get a little business going, and they'll try to build something to on their own. And then the other thing is, they can always go back home.
Right.
Okay, they can always go back home if it just completely flames out. They can take their ass back home. Okay, most foundational Black Americans have nowhere to go, and they have nothing. They have nothing to build with, and they've had generations of nothing to build with. Okay?
Having said that, don't lose that thought. Kevin, I'm gonna ask you this, and then Jason, I want your response on this. What does reparations look like to you, Kevin?
Good question.
Reparations is gonna be a cash payment out to Black people, and it has to be out to foundational Black people in this country. That's gonna exclude me. That's gonna exclude Jason. That's gonna exclude McGregor. That's gonna exclude a lot of us. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it needs to be done, because these are our people in this country, no matter what. I don't care if I was born in another country. I've been here. I've seen what's going on. I know the issues. I've seen them. And it's what's owed. Like, pay what you owe. This is what's owed. So I'm not too sure on the mathematics, on the amount, or anything of that nature. But, again, there has to be some form of cash payment out to Black people in this country.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in.
And it has to be something substantial.
Right.
I'm gonna jump in, and the reason why my co-host, I was laughing when you asked that question, because you and I had this conversation last week, and we started doing a little bit of mathematics, if you remember.
Yeah.
We were just coming up with just numbers.
Yeah, well, the numbers were pretty close, Drew.
Yeah, and it was a great conversation. So, normally I'm sitting right next to you, and we normally laugh, because I'm like, I'll think something, and then you'll ask it, and, we go back and forth. So I'm over here laughing like he just literally took my question. So to my man Jason, keep that question in mind. But what I wanted to add to that, right? So when you answer this question, and Kevin kind of mentioned it a little bit, what does it look like to you from the perspective of a dollar amount? I'm not expecting you to say, I'm not expecting you to come up with an actual number, right? But what I want you to think of is, because our young youth, and this is where I'm coming from, is our young youth, Black American youth, they're not as educated, man. I'm saying this from numbers I've seen, starting on California, where 75% of the young black men out there are graduating from high school and cannot read at the third grade level, right? So we're lacking education in a certain sense, especially from a financial perspective, right? So when you answer that question, I want you to keep that in mind. You can't just dump a bunch of money into people that don't know what to do with it, right? So go ahead and throw in your response.
So the dollar amount, I'm going to tell you at a minimum, and this is gonna, people ain't gonna like it. I don't care. Minimum starting $17 trillion. It is what it is. 17 trillion.
How'd you come up with that number, man?
Huh? There's a whole lot of mathematical formulas, but it's about that. But I agree with the consensus that the 17 trillion to start. Seriously. And then you have to factor in and reparations is, first of all, it needs to be cash payments. First things first. But it's not only cash payments. Okay? We need legal reparations. Okay? That the overhaulment of the justice system. Okay? We have to overhaul it. We have to, because there has to be a level of accountability where we see prosecutorial misconduct that is racially biased towards Black people. Okay, reparations.
Sure.
Okay, because we have to overhaul the legal system. Okay, we need educational reparations because our school systems have been just, in our communities, have been absolutely atrocious. Okay, and that needs to be, and America has contributed to that. White supremacy and systematic racism has contributed to the educational system being what it is today within our communities. All of these factors, by the way, have led to the criminality within our community. Because you cannot sit here and ask the question, you want to call it urban violence. Other people say, what about black on black crime? And they like to talk about Chicago and all this other stuff. But nobody wants to discuss the economic issue that leads to criminality. They don't want to talk about the lack of resources, the lack of funding that goes to after school programs for kids. They don't want to talk about the fact that they took out, things that deal with the arts or music or anything like that. They don't want to talk about any of that systematically have done, that they put in place, that create the schoolyard or the school to prison pipeline. Okay. These things have been put in place, and that is America's history. And this is all what they owe for reparations, because these are the things for every person that wants to.
The restitution.
That's what I'm saying. For every person that wants to bring up about Black criminality, okay, statistically and by numbers, we commit no more crimes than white people. We commit crimes at the same rate. It's the same. We all know about the war on drugs within the Black neighborhood. Black people do not use any more drugs than white people do. Okay. Right now, the United States has a massive methamphetamine problem. Okay, but they're not criminalizing it. They're not criminalizing it
because it's a mental health issue.
It's a health issue. It's a health crisis.
Is that because it hit John Q. citizen in white America?
Exactly. Crack is the poor man's cocaine. Remember, and this is going. And by the way, this is for. And I'm going to be like this. I do not co-sign any Democrat. I do not co-sign any Republican. I just call it how I see it, because both sides have anti-Black racist tendencies and views, and have done absolute atrocious things to the Black community. Okay, Joe Biden was the one that brought up the drug sentencing, that the disparaging sentencing between for targeted Black people by giving harsher sentences for crack cocaine compared to powder cocaine. Okay, and crack was prevalent in the Black community because it was forced into our community. It was put into our community. These are all things that this country has done to hold our community down. This is all those things that have led to the Black criminality. And now you're questioning, is it a good thing to defund the police? This is why you're asking this question, because you're talking about Black criminality. But here's the thing: you just say Black criminality because that's just the tip of the iceberg. When you look down below the water and the surface, and you see, no, that's just the tip. That's the end result. What's the root of the cause? Which is systematic anti-Black racism. Okay, that's the root cause of everything that is sat here and messed up our community to where we are today. And this is why reparation and restitution is needed for our people.
Hey man, I'm gonna jump in here and add some numbers a little bit to what you're saying. So, okay, we all know about the 1994 crime bill, Bill Clinton and Joe Biden, which is what you're talking about, disproportionately throwing brothers in prison. And somebody threw some numbers at me one day. They were saying back when Bill Clinton was in office, how the black unemployment rate was so significantly low, and I pointed out that yeah, that's because a lot of the brothers were in prison from the 1994 crime bill. They don't count them in the statistics. So if they're locked up in prison, you can't say, well, then they're out there looking for jobs, because they're not, right? You mentioned about the not having jobs, and so that leads to committing crimes, and we have these high crime rates in the black community. In the black communities, bro, and we kind of hurt ourselves a little bit. In the black communities, we had Detroit, you got Philadelphia, you've got out there in Chicago. I mean, a lot of these neighborhoods back in the 60s and coming up, these neighborhoods had real manufacturing jobs. A lot of the black families were middle class, having good paying jobs. And we did some riots and burned some of those businesses down. And these folks took their businesses out of the community. They were never replaced, right? So a lot of these brothers went from having these nice middle class jobs to now turning to sling some dope or whatever else. I've talked about that a little bit before. And therefore we in a lot of ways we ruin our own communities. We ruin our own.
But Andrew, here's the thing though, you can't attribute these companies leaving these places because of black people rioting. Black people were rioting because there was an actual issue there, and if stuff got burnt, then stuff got burnt. If these people want to leave,
I agree.
They're just gonna leave.
No, I agree.
I mean, a lot of these manufacturing jobs are not even in this country anymore. They've gone overseas. So they might have used that as the excuse or as the tipping point for them to say, all right, well, screw it, we're not going to build back. We're just going to go over here and build something else.
Yeah, and that's where I was going with that, saying these jobs left. And when these jobs left, right, then you fast forward to the 80s and the 90s where these crime bills came in, right? Remember in the 80s, the crack cocaine came into the black neighborhood, as Jason was saying. I'm connecting the dots. That's what I was saying. I'm putting these pieces together. So we lost all these jobs. We hit an era of kind of poverty, right? Then they brought the crack cocaine into the black neighborhoods. We get all hooked up on crack cocaine where we're overdosing, and if we're not overdosing and dying, they're throwing us in prison. As Jason mentioned, now with the meth, it's a different mindset, right? Oh, let's get some Norcam and revive them and put them in therapy. We didn't get that. That's where I was going, what you're saying. So I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying.
Jail.
What was that, Jay?
We didn't get treatment. We got jail.
Yeah, we got right. That's what I'm saying. We either overdosed and died, or we went to prison. And a lot of us are still in prison. I told a story about a brother had 3 joints. 3 joints. You know how much years he got for 3 joints? 30 years. How do you, dude? Like every time I say that, how do you justify that? You know what I'm saying? So that's all I was saying there, Kevin. I wasn't.
So Jason and Kevin definitely understand your points of view. Reparations for me, 17 trillion is a lot of money, bro.
Hey, the U.S. got it.
No,
they got it. All you got it. And for everybody, where's that money going to come from?
Right.
Go look at your 2 stimulus packages that they, with no problem, 10 trillion and 12 trillion to go out and get to small businesses. Which, by the way, we've already seen that they've already finessed that. Okay.
Uh-huh.
They've already finessed that money.
I agree.
Somehow, those white businesses, for some reason, the money never seemed to get to those black businesses. That money ended up in white businesses for some reason. It always seems to work that way.
Kevin, let me ask the fellas this, because again, and I'm probably going to bring this up every conversation because it's something that I feel strongly about, fellas. I'm just asking your personal. We don't have to get into a deep conversation because we're running short on time now. But I just wanted to ask both of you, what are your personal thoughts on abortion? And I asked the question from the black community's perspective, and I'll throw one quick number at you before you answer. 2011, the number 1 cause for the loss of life in the black community was abortion. 360,000 black children were aborted. The Black lives lost for other causes. Other than that, other causes was like heart attacks, diabetes, diseases and everything. 287,000 other Black people died from other causes, murder, whatever it is. 360 in the Black community. And a couple weeks ago, Kevin and I did a show where we ran down the numbers, and the numbers were staggering. Kevin, off the top of my head, I think you had a total of 13.5 million Black lives that were lost from 1971 to 2017. Those are Black lives that could be here today. So having said that, and also the fact that with the stimulus package, Ms. Nancy Pelosi wants to put some of that money, I think 1 billion of it, into Planned Parenthood, which is predominantly in the Black neighborhood. So with that said, Jason, what are your thoughts on abortion?
This is my thing. I'm not a proponent of abortion. Okay, I don't agree with it. And it is a system that has been put in place that has specifically been targeted towards our community. It's part of eugenics. It's a eugenics program. Okay, it is what it is. It's a eugenics program. And unfortunately, unfortunately, I always go back to what it always. It's because of your economic situation. Okay, our people really don't have any economic base. So what do we do most majority of the time is lay around, sit around, smoke, drink, and have sex. Okay, and then make all these kids, and they're not. There's no strong family structures. They're not coming in a strong family structure. So this is what's going on. So this is the unfortunate thing that happens, and But like I said, the way to correct these things is that we need an economic base.
Yes.
Okay. And then we can move from there. And then what you can do is you can build your families. You can have a code of conduct. Okay. In which we operate. Okay, and go from there.
Jason, Kevin, I was trying to explain, and this conversation can splinter off into so many different directions. But what I was wanting to say was the way that reparations looks to me, and 17 trillion is a lot of money, and the government does have it. Reparations looks like a 15-year tax abatement for every Black American in the United States. And the reason why I say every Black American, whether you're foundationally Black, whether you were immigrated Black, your ancestors, I don't care if you came here from China, I don't care if you came here from Canada, I don't care if you came here from Brazil, South America, wherever you came to get here. Your ancestors came from West Africa at some point. You didn't just miraculously show up in this country. So despite where your roots took you from to get you here, if we do a reparations package that isolates specific Blacks and others, that is going to cause another problem, in my opinion. We already have an issue now where if you see one of your counterparts that are successful, that have money, that are changing their classification, they're changing their tax bracket, whatever, that causes some type of mental thing where we start to have this formality of jealousy that just comes up. So in my mind's eye, that causes another issue for other Blacks to say, hey man, why are you getting money and I'm not? I'm Black too. Maybe that won't, I don't know. But I see for every Black American, they count us in the census as 44.5 million Blacks in this country. I see a 15 to 20 year tax abatement that's payroll tax, that's federal tax, that's everything. I also see a $250,000, Drew, this is where we spoke before, a $250,000 either cash payment over a 5-year period that comes out to $6,250 roughly a month. Or you can get a $250,000 non-repayable business loan for anyone that would like to have this. You can get this money to build a house, build a business, do whatever. This is your money. You do with what you see fit.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I just have a simple question.
Yes, sir.
When it comes to paying the reparations to Native Americans, Jews, or any other group that the United States has paid reparations to, Why is it always that the United States will cut the check, but when it comes to us, we have to figure out, well, let's give us a business loan, let's do this and let's do that. No. Cut the check and implement those programs that you're talking about.
And you know what? And I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. So
It's just that simple.
No,
that's how I look at it. That's how I look at it.
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I don't see any problem with that. My thing is I don't want to see this, which could actually be a help. Will it fix the problem? Who knows? That's up in the air. I don't want to see that happen to where you say, you know, there's certain foundational blacks and now we have another problem. So I just want the entire issue to go away.
But I'm telling you, we don't. We wouldn't have a problem.
Cut the check. That's what you're saying.
Cut the check. Look, as a person, I'm telling you straight up. Look, if you're a person that is not entitled to this, okay, you have no claim to this, okay. Now, as you said, everybody came from West Africa. Now, as a person that is of British and Jamaican descent, if there's an issue with reparations, guess who I go to? I go to
the British Parliament.
Yes, and you owe. So if they gonna pay for the descendants of Jamaican slaves that they own, guess who gets to check that?
Let me ask you this: Would Candace Owens' husband would he have to pay because his family?
I hope he does. Hey, you know what? It is.
Cut the check, bro. Period. Cut the check. Cut the check. Kevin, listen, bro. Do you? I know that Jason's your boy. Does that sound about right? What he's saying? Do you see it like that?
I see it the same exact way. Cut the check. I don't see why we have to discuss what we have to do with this money. Just cut the check. Nobody else has to have these discussions with America except for black people. We have to have these discussions. Why are we having these discussions? Give us our money. Give us all those programs that you were talking about. Change the financial system, the justice system, the school system. Fix all of that.
Right.
On top of giving us that money.
Last thing, guys, before we get out of here. The whole idea of policing our own communities. We have people that come to our communities that don't look like us. If we are continuously, and we got to slide through this quick because we've already, see how fast, Drew, you see how fast it takes us to get through an hour, man? Because with this conversation can just go on and on. So
we didn't even touch on Black Lives Matter.
We haven't even touched on them. So having said that, you two have to come back for a round two.
Absolutely.
So here we go. Last thing, policing our own communities. If we demonize the police department and we demonize policing in general, how are we going to get black youth, black boys, black girls, young black men in their 20s, early 30s? How are we going to get them to want to put on that badge, to want to put on that uniform and come through and police our communities if we continue to demonize and make them look like they are the op? How does that happen?
I think once there's a fundamental change within the police department and how policing is done, then that will be a self-correction on its own. Because there's always people within our community that want to do right, no matter what.
No matter what.
So they will, once they see that there is a need for a police within their community, and if they are so inclined to want to become a police officer, then they will go ahead and do it. I mean, that's, again, as a people, we're not really scared to really do a lot of different things. Right. And we're not scared to talk to one another and let each other know, hey, this is what's happening right now, and this is what I'm going to do about it.
Right.
And most times we're usually good about holding each other accountable with what we're doing. So hopefully, you know, if it goes that route and we do get people that look like us policing us within our own community, there won't be any disparages as far as how we're being policed within our community. It won't.
I'm always going to revert back to what I said. He's established an economic base.
Yeah.
Okay. Therefore, you have a code of conduct. Okay. And once you can provide for your own, community policing will work. And it's not even so much as putting on a badge. It's just being able to, because by the way, you look at those areas called Chinatown, Greektown, you know, they don't have, police don't run through there like that.
They don't. This is true.
They have an economic base. They have businesses. They don't have those issues. And if they do have issues, they correct those issues within the community.
Right.
Okay. We forget that back in those times when you had those black enclaves, we didn't have police running through there, and it was always about, hey, you know, your mama don't like you. You know, your mama ain't cool with you running around doing that. You know, your daddy ain't cool about you doing that. Get yourself in line.
Right.
So it's not like we haven't had those things. We've had those things. We know how to operate off a code of conduct. You must have an economic base, okay, so that you can provide for your own, and a code of conduct. Once you have those things in place, you will see that we are not a criminal-minded people. We are actually very beautiful, okay, and we want to do the right thing.
Right.
You just got to give them a lot of people. A lot of criminality happens in the community because a lot of our folks are hungry. Okay, they don't know where that next meal coming from.
Right.
They don't know where they're going to stay. They don't know how they're going to make it through the day. They don't know how they're going to make it through the week, or they don't know how they're going to make it through the day.
Right.
Women are out there turning tricks because they don't know how they're going to play that rent. Okay, that's why you have OnlyFans blowing up. It's just a lot of things that happen, okay, in which people call criminal-minded or criminal, it's just black criminality. But the truth of the matter is that all of these things, and it's shown throughout the history of human history, that without an economic base, that's what leads to all these things.
All of that.
People have to do what they need to do to get by.
What's funny is,
yeah,
Jay, I know me and Jay have talked about this before. As a people, historically, black people are conservative.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're not all out there, all liberal out in the street, like, yeah, like, nah. That's historically, as a people, we've always been conservative. So, policing ourselves is never going to be like a big problem. I don't see that as being a big issue.
Drew,
Just because of how we just are.
Right. Drew?
Yeah, what I was gonna touch on, and Jason mentioned this at the beginning of the conversation about, you know, the crime rate in each community. Again with the numbers, I think 88% of white homicides are committed by another white person. So yeah, we do predominantly kill ourselves. And when you're talking about touching it now into this, you know, policing ourselves, I agree with. Pretty much, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm trying to think, okay, how can I play devil's advocate? But I agree with pretty much everything you guys are saying. I think as a group of people, if you recruit police officers from that neighborhood, what are the likelihood of a young man that grew up with these other fellows coming back in and kicking in somebody's door and shooting somebody that he knows and grew up with?
Man, that junk ain't gonna happen.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Happen.
It's you know what I mean? So you know, but I want to throw this out there, because Kevin, we do have to wrap up. I want to throw this out there, and it's either yes or no, so we don't get into a long conversation. Because everything that we're saying, this is what it's got me thinking. Do you think we need to segregate?
You now that you said that, you already know my stance on that.
That's what I'm asking them, bro.
On that.
Yeah, you don't get to answer this. That's what I'm asking them, because I know your stance.
I will give you the answer to that question, because what will happen is, and by the way, I'm just let you know, we're already segregated. Don't get it twisted. We're already segregated.
This is true.
Okay, we're segregated. Economically, socially, we're already segregated.
So that's obvious. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So the only portion that, and a lot of people get scared when we say we need our own, because it makes it sound like we're being black extremists. We're not being black extremists. We want to be self-sufficient. So therefore, we need like I said, we're already segregated. Now we want you. Okay, all things have been put in place to segregate us, because you can't go to the white area of town and not get questioned while you over there. Now, white people come up over our neighborhood at any time, whenever they want, whatever. We don't question them. Now, when you go, like we're in Florida, so if I take my ass down to Weston, I'm gonna get looked at. What am I doing over here? What's this dread doing up over here? You know what I'm saying? No white person can come into my community and get questioned like that. So we're already segregated. Okay, so it's not whether we need to be segregated. We already are segregated. What we're asking is the economic portion so that we can prosper.
Gotcha. Kevin.
Kevin, yes.
I agree with Jason. I mean, it's that at least for I would say for us here in Florida, South Florida, I would say that's kind of how it is already. McGregor, you kind of knew how it was when you were here.
Yeah.
I mean, Lauderhill was Jamaica Hill.
Yeah.
That was Jam Hill. Like, if you were Jamaican, you want anything Jamaican oriented, you go to Lauderhill, you're gonna get what you want. So as a community, when it came to like Caribbean communities, we were already spending our money within our neighborhoods already. So again, like Jason said, I mean, we're already pretty much segregated. It's just you have a lot of black people that still, it's like they don't want to spend that money with other black people. Again, touch on what Kevin has said before. It's like that jealousy thing kind of takes over sometimes. It's like, nah, which again, that's a deeper issue also, because that's ingrained within black people from slavery anyway to begin with. You had the house nigga and you had the slave, the field nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, this is all stuff that's kind of ingrained within people, within black people in general. So, you know, you have people that, me for one, I'm going to frequent someone that looks like me before I'm going to frequent someone that looks like whoever else.
Right.
Because I want to see my people do good. That was one of the things that my dad always tried to ingrain within us when we were growing up is, you know, always spend within your community, spend with your people. Make sure that they prosper, because when they prosper, you prosper. Because if you spend money with them, they're gonna come back and spend money with you.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna notice that loyalty, they're gonna see it, and they're gonna come back and they're gonna want to frequent that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen that firsthand because my mom was a business owner, so I've seen that.
Okay, that's where I was going. Real quick, bro. Y'all need to get out of my head. So Kevin, no, for real. That's why I'm saying y'all my family, man. Kevin, just what you just touched on. So your mom owned a beauty salon. As a Jamaican woman, who were her clients?
It was mostly Jamaican people. It was mostly Jamaican women that came in there. I mean,
that's where I was going.
Again, her shop was in Lauderhill, so again, that's like the epicenter for the Caribbean community at that time when she had her shop. So it was a lot of Caribbean people that came in there, and guess what? She did have a few white people that did come inside it. There was a few Jewish women that used to come in there and get their hair permed and straightened or whatever, and it was never a question of why are they here within our community, in our mall. It was just, all right, hey, come on in. You want your hair done? All right, cool. We'll do your hair. Do your hair. They walk out. They have no issues when they come to our hood, but we go to theirs, and all of a sudden it's an instant problem. I work in Boca Raton right now, right? That's like white central. Like I can't even explain it to you. Like there's money up there. Like that's just old money. That's old plantation money up there. They got ranches and horse ranches and all kind of foolishness up there. I go up there and I work there. When I see a black person actually jogging on the street, it makes me bug out because I'm like, dude, you better get off the street quick because you're going to get stopped by the cops quick.
That's crazy.
I live right now. I currently live in Sunrise. Sunrise is right next to Lauderhill. So there's Caribbean people here too.
Right. And
I promise you, I seen white people running in my neighborhood jogging. And I'm looking at them sideways like, what the hell are they doing here? Yeah. But nobody's going to stop them or question them ever. Because, again, just like Jason said, it's not a problem for them to come over here. Mm. It's a problem for us to go over there. So, obviously, we're already segregated. It's just for us to just kind of get together and just say, hey.
How does it work?
Exactly. And we need to stop spending money with people that don't look like us and aren't for us.
We're definitely going to have that as a discussion.
Yeah.
And again, man, Drew, you know where I stand on that. Where I come from, you know, I'm ex-military. My experience in life is different than you three gentlemen because you're not originally born here. And for whatever reason, people from other countries come over here and seem to excel a lot faster and have a lot more understanding of community and unity than natural born Americans do. For whatever reason, we're going to have to jump into that at some point. But we definitely want to get you two brothers back on here so that we can have another conversation, because this like I could sit here and talk for a long time. But before we go, I do want to cover something. Drew, we said this before. If you do not know your rights, okay, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. Now, I'm not an attorney, obviously. I'm not a jailhouse attorney, none of that. But I do want to read something since we're speaking on police. And I don't know if you guys felt like this, but I felt like this when I watched that video. When I watched Officer Chauvin killing George, I'm sitting here like, man, if I was in that crowd, I probably would have lowered my shoulder, like my coach taught me in high school, and I would have blew his head through that truck. And there is a belief, there is a natural human instinct, fight or flight. Everybody has this. But some people get caught up into that group mentality. They're waiting for the next person in the group to actually stand up and do something before they feel empowered to do it themselves.
Leaders.
Again, I'm not an attorney, but if you do not know your rights, you don't have any. So for those of you that want to research this, you can ask your attorney, ask a legal professor or professional the validity of this. But this is a law here in the United States of America. I just want to read this to you. Citizens may resist unlawful arrest to the point of taking an arresting officer's life if necessary. Plummer v. State 136-306. This premise was upheld by the Supreme Court of the United States in the case of John Bad Elk versus U.S. 177 U.S. 529. The court stated, where the officer is killed in the course of the disorder which naturally accompanies an attempted arrest that is resisted, the law looks with very different eyes upon the transaction when the officer had the right to make the arrest from what it does if the officer had no right. What may be murder in the first case might be nothing more than manslaughter in the other, or the facts might show that no offense had been committed. An arrest made with a defective warrant, or one issued without affidavit, or one that fails to allege a crime is within jurisdiction, and one who is being arrested, listen to this, may resist arrest and break away. If the arresting officer is killed by one who is so resisting, the killing will be no more than an involuntary manslaughter. House v. People 7511, and it has a bunch of extra jargon thrown in there. So again, if you don't know your rights, what did we say before, Drew?
You ain't got none. Hey.
Principles apply as well to an officer attempting to make arrest who abuses his authority and transcends the bounds thereof by the use of unnecessary force and violence, as they do to a private individual who unlawfully uses force and violence. When a person being without fault is in a place where he has a right to be, is violently assaulted by an officer, he may, without retracting, repel the force, and if, in the reasonable exercise of his right of self-defense, his assailant is killed, he is justified. So in short order, if you see a cop, an agent of the state, that is unlawfully exercising his authority and he has stepped beyond his bounds, you can kill his ass.
I'm going to jump in and say this real quick. And I really hate saying this, but this is what I really feel in my heart. And again, 4 black men here talking. That ain't for us, bro. I'm gonna go back to the young lady up here in Louisville, bro. They showed up to the wrong address, y'all said, and they killed her. And dude still ain't been arrested yet.
True that. So I get what you're saying. Kevin?
I will say this. Drew, It ain't for us, but our point is to make it for us.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It may not be for us, but as
The
he
intent wasn't for us.
we have to make it for us. Because I guarantee you there are 99.9%. Well, yeah, I could probably say that because Tupac didn't give a damn and he
Yo,
busted.
I was just about to say that.
Yes.
Get out of my head.
He made it for him.
It
He
made
made
it for him.
that for him. So
And part of that, and one of the things I want your audience to understand is that if we do have these sorts of cases, and one of the reasons why Breonna Taylor's boyfriend was able to get those charges dropped, by the way, first off was because of the judge. Shout out to Judge Olu Stevens down there in Louisville. And number two is that the community, whether it was black, white, or whatever, community as a whole got together a GoFundMe and raised a lot of money for a legal defense fund. And that's one of the things that we have to understand, that if we do have situations like this where a person who was being unlawfully detained and unlawfully arrested and they defended themselves at the cost of the life of a police officer, okay, the community as a whole needs to pool those resources together for a legal defense fund, okay, because that immediately, the one thing that it showed, okay, the legal system is that we're not playing. We're ready to back this, just like whatever cop. Because by the way, I think 3 of the 4 cops that were involved in the Floyd case, okay, are out on bail. That's money that's been put together by the fraternity order of police and all whoever will put funds together to sit there and create a legal defense fund. It should be no different than what we do. If, for example, in a situation, say for example, as we all know, Sandra Bland was illegally detained and was illegally arrested. Okay, she did nothing wrong. Okay, she really did nothing wrong. Okay, now if a brother had come by and seen that interaction went down and shot and killed that police officer, and they were ready to go that book, right, he would have been justified under the law, but he would need legal representation, and and that requires us to have a defense fund.
Right.
Always goes back to the economics. That's how. Okay. As I'm going to quote a person that I listen to regularly. If you do get a chance, check him out. He's the Black Authority, Jason Black. He always says, okay, they don't like us and they oppress us. But the thing is, the reason why they can attack us is because they harm us because of our economic. I'm paraphrasing.
Right.
They can only harm us because of our economic situation. Okay.
Right.
They don't have to like us. We gotta make sure. But the reason we need an economic basis so that they cannot harm us. They harm us because we are poor.
Right.
Okay.
Kevin, or I'm sorry, Jason, or Kevin. Sorry, I keep getting y'all switched up. Give me 10, 15 seconds so we can wrap this up. Last words.
Just keep the movement alive. I'm praying for these kids that are out there. I'm hoping that they stay safe, and I just wish the best for us as a people. I mean,
we want you back. Can we get a commitment for you to come back?
Yeah, definitely. I'll do this again.
J-Rock.
Yeah, Jason. Like 15, 20 seconds. Last words, brother.
I just want to let everybody know. Continue to fight. Okay. Continue to fight. We're not done. We got a long way to go and a lot of work to do. Keep your heads up and support each other. Love each other. Black first.
That man.
Yeah.
Boom.
Fire!
All right. Last words, brother. How you feeling?
Hey, man, I'm good, man. I'm happy to have both my boys on here, dude. I'm so proud right now, man. And I want both of y'all something to keep in mind for both myself and Kevin over here. If you guys have any talking points, that you would like to discuss, man, hit us up with that as well. You know what I mean? Because you see what we're trying to do here. And Jason, I know you've got a small movement going on Facebook. You've got an audience over there, and if you have anything that you would like to cover, what I'm saying, being my family, man, you're always more than welcome. Kevin,
absolutely.
For you. And just wanted to put that out there. And for me, I usually have a different mindset, and I get attacked a lot on social media. And the problem is that it's not that I disagree a lot with our people in what they're fighting for or what they're trying to convey. It's that my mentality is different. My mentality is different because of my background, how my mom raised me, and I just go through life kind of with blinders. It's not that I don't see what's going on; I see it, but I cannot afford to let it stop me from taking care of myself and my family. I don't expect everybody to have that mindset. I'm just saying that's my mindset, and I do see what's happening to our people. I mean, it happens to me. I just choose to put blinders on and move forward. But always, man, more power to our people. Last words of my man Bob Marley: emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds, man. We have to educate ourselves always.
Hey, man, this was powerful. Thank you, guys, for joining us again. We absolutely need you to come back. These conversations are these are mental jewels, man. This is what can help inspire someone in our community somewhere to help them think and get something going where they live, to not be afraid to stand up. And as Jason said, we both agree to make these laws apply to us. So one point to Jason, what you said, politics without economics, sir, is like style without substance. 100%. So I appreciate you coming on here, bro. For you guys out there that are watching this on YouTube, please, by all means, hit that subscribe button, slam that button, and hit that bell for notifications anytime we drop some fire. We drop that heat to get you thinking, to inspire your mind and soul. Thank you all for joining us. Kevin, Jason, thank you. Drew, thank you again. Great content. We look forward to having you gentlemen back. For all of you out there, peace and love, man. Do what's right.
Hey, fellas, do we officially give my man his card, man?
Can I get my card? Come on, give me my card, bro.
We'll slide him.
You got it.
Yo, why y'all deal with?
Hey, check the joke.
Yeah.
What my boy saying, Belly, make him come down to Jamaica and make him, do what with man fights.
Hey, man, thank you guys 100%, man. Hey, thank you so much, guys.
Safe, guys.
Man. Peace.
All right.